Oh my God, the Nuggets won a game without Jokic. It's a miracle. It couldn't have ever happened. Oh wait, they've done it twice in a week. Forget about the Blazers. You know what? The Nuggets are good when they're not supposed to win without Jokic. That's the secret. We'll talk about it on Locked On Nuggets.
You are Locked On Nuggets, your daily Denver Nuggets podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to Locked On Nuggets. Thanks for joining us, making us part of your day, being an everydayer. Appreciate you guys being with us. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Today's show is brought to you by Monarch Money. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONNBA at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. My name is Matt Moore. I'm a senior NBA writer for the Action Network. If you want to know how the Nuggets defense sucks and why it sucks, I have about 1,500 words up at the denverdig.com. I did a very detailed deep dive about all of their defensive problems, which we're not going to talk about today because they played great versus the Houston Rockets. I'm joined by Ryan Blackburn of Mile High Sports and the Pickaxe and Roll podcast, which you can find on YouTube and in your podcast feeds. Make sure to go subscribe and support Ryan as well. Today's show, we'll talk about the win over the Houston Rockets as the Nuggets get another win without Nikola Jokic and wind up splitting the road trip. Not a bad week's work for the Denver Nuggets.
Pretty good.
If once we get past how it felt in the moment. I was actually in Colorado Springs for the Blazers game.
Good for you.
So, I was on spring break and I was checking the timeline. I was like, oh no. It was people went through it on that one. Can I ask you? I want to start there, Ryan.
Sure.
Why is it that when the Nuggets lose a game against a team that we know that they're better than, the reaction is so much greater than when they beat a team like the Warriors, who had been red hot, and they beat a team like the Rockets, who had won 9 in a row coming into this game?
You think the reaction was stronger?
Yes.
For the Blazers loss? Okay.
Yes.
I think it's probably because Nuggets fans they're pretty accustomed to winning at this point. They've won a lot. The Nuggets have won a lot of games over the course of these last few years. They're one of the winningest teams. They might be, Matt, the winningest team in the Western Conference over the course of the Nikola Jokic, not era, but certainly the 2020s. They've been great. And the fact that they have been that consistent and been that good again, and they've done it really well against sub 500 teams, honestly. So when you don't have that, and when it feels like the ground is kind of falling out from under your feet, and you had just lost to the Los Angeles Lakers in pretty embarrassing fashion the game before, then yeah, people are going to throw up their hands and be like, okay, can't even beat the Portland Trailblazers. How are you going to beat any team in the Western Conference playoff picture? And then they go ahead and beat the Houston Rockets, who are really good.
By the way, you are correct. The Denver Nuggets in the 2020s, since 2019-20, have the most wins in the Western Conference with 296. That is a full 19 ahead of the Phoenix Suns, who are second. Clippers next up at 272.
God, that Suns total is going to drop off shortly.
Probably. Nuggets get the win 116-111 versus the Houston Rockets. Jamal Murray. Ooh,
killer.
Man. Just 39 points, 15 of 28, 7 assists, 4 rebounds, 1 turnover, a plus 19. I've been talking a lot about how Jamal's been playing really good basketball basically since the turn of the year. And this was another one where he was just absolutely sensational versus, and took it to Men Thompson. Took it to him. He beat everybody on that Rockets team. Off-balance shots, in-control floaters, tough finishes on the interior through contact falling down. Jamal was spectacular in this game.
He was hunting Dillon Brooks, too. How often do you see that, Matt? So people are seeking out Dillon Brooks on the other end, trying to attack them. And Jamal just felt very comfortable throughout this game. And the turnover that he had, pretty ugly at the end. It nearly got them in trouble. But if that's the one blemish on what was a fantastic game, that was a truly impressive performance. And it came at such a big moment because, like we talked about, momentum's not going Denver's way. You're facing off against a top 5 defense. This team is really good, this Houston Rockets team. They had won 9 in a row. Where are you going to look to without Nikola Jokic? you look to your leaders. And Jamal Murray is certainly one of those guys, and he has consistently stepped up, especially after about December 8th, when they lost to the Washington Wizards. He has been tremendous ever since then and deserves a ton of credit for shouldering a lot of the burden. I thought against the Portland Trailblazers, he was pretty hampered. Certainly looked that way. That's not the only excuse that you can give. He just kind of played bad and was kind of passive. This one, he wasn't about to be passive. He was very aggressive and played a great game.
I can't believe this stat, but it's true. This season without Nikola Jokic, when the Nuggets are favored, so they're supposed to win the game even without Jokic, they're 0-3. They have not won a game when they are supposed to win the game without Jokic.
That's probably why the people are so negative.
But now, in games in which Jokic does not play and they are underdogs, so they're not supposed to win, the Nuggets are 4-3. They're above 500.
Wow.
Versus teams they're not supposed to beat when Jokic doesn't play.
Sure. Yeah. You know what? That's normal. That's what this team is supposed to be. That's just like every time we try to get a handle on what this group is and what they're capable of, they tend to go the opposite direction, Matt. And Jamal, I think, is actually very enigmatic of that exact trait and has been throughout his career. And you've said this before. The moment you feel like you get a handle on it, the moment you feel like you know what you're going to expect from him, he goes the opposite direction. When you write him off, he writes back, and it was pretty impressive tonight.
Yeah, he was absolutely phenomenal. He was terrific. I think you can, and I'm just glad that we can, for now, put aside the stuff from the early this season. Like, he wasn't right. He got right. He's looking great. And he was gassed tonight and still managed to burn off clock and get the foul draw at the end, which essentially secured that game because it got dicey there at the end. I'm not surprised. Like, they just got a little rushed at the end, and the pressure from the Rockets is really good. This is a wild offensive game. The Nuggets won this game with offense, which is, again, surprising. I want to up next, I would like to talk about how we need to put some respect on the professional basketball players that play basketball for the Denver Nuggets who do not have the name Jokic on the back of their jersey. We'll talk about that. Oh, DeAndre Jordan up next on Locked On Nuggets. You ever check your bank account and wonder, where did all my money go? Pretty much every day of my life since I got one. Between dining out, online shopping, and entertainment, it's easy to lose track. That's where Monarch Money comes in, your personal CFO, giving you full visibility and control over your finances. Monarch Money isn't just a budgeting app. It's a complete financial command center. You can track all your accounts, investments, and spending in one place, so you stop just managing your money and you start building wealth. So I used Monarch Money this weekend because I went on a quick spring break trip to Colorado Springs, had a wonderful time, but eating out, stuff like that, wanted to budget for it. So I was able to go and get a sense for exactly how much it cost and be able to do a long-term plan based off of that for us to handle our expenses. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONNBA at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. That's monarchmoney.com, code LOCKEDONNBA for half off your first year. We'll be right back on Locked On Nuggets. Back here on Locked On Nuggets, thanks for joining us and making us part of your day. Appreciate you guys being with us here on a Monday. No jinx, because we would never jinx anyone. We would never do that. That's not a thing we would do. All right. So I have to do this pretty much every season when they get one of these wins. There's got to be there's a way to properly give Jokic credit for how singularly awesome and amazing he is. And I understand if you're like, Matt's got an article talking about his defense and this and that and the other. It's like when Jokic had the 30-20-20 game, like I wrote a whole thing on it about just being in awe of what it's like. When he's had these other games, like I lose my mind at how amazing he is. And I've defended him a lot to various people online and in conversations and podcasts about both his defense and his resume as an overall all-time great. But for some reason, especially when we do the MVP stuff, but it's not just the MVP stuff, it's basically player rankings in general. The idea has to be like, well, sure, this guy might have this or that, but nobody has to do what this guy does because this guy has to do so much more but because his team sucks. Michael Porter Jr. was great tonight. He was only 7 of 16 from the field, and he was -4. I thought that some of the clutch shots he hit were absolutely huge. Like some of those fadeaway shots, especially from 2 and some of the threes were just absolutely massive. Aaron Gordon was so good tonight. 13 points, 4 rebounds, 8 assists, +9 for him. That dagger at the end, which was a huge shot on that pull-up jumper, should have been the end of the game if they hadn't gotten all sloppy with the inbounds. He was absolutely terrific. Christian Brown, +17, just keeps on rolling no matter what. Christian Brown gonna win his minutes, and he does so many things that help you win. Jamal Murray was terrific. The other guys on this team would be NBA players and rotation players when we talk about the top 7 guys on almost any team in the league. Like, they would be key pieces and huge contributors. These are all great players. Don't let your love of what Jokic has accomplished and how singularly amazing he is, and the fact that he is the best athlete in Denver history, don't let that overshadow these other guys and force you to tear them down to make him look better. These guys were awesome tonight. They competed and got a tough win versus Golden State. They got a great win here. Yeah, they lost to the Blazers. Sucks. The defense still has not been good. That's a much larger problem. But like, these guys have been awesome, and they deserve credit, Ryan, for being the great professional ball players they are.
They, of course, deserve credit. And you are right to do this. And this is probably the right time to do it because this was a good win. It was a great win. This was a genuinely great win for Denver, one that they needed for the playoff race. And they didn't have Nikola Jokic for it. They're probably not going to have him tomorrow night, apparently. So I think that it's important always to be putting this into context. And I like to do this in other ways too, because Denver has never had, and like Swipe is in the chat here, he likes to use this as kind of a denigration of the process for Denver and the roster and the things that Calvin Booth and Michael Malone have put together. Denver's never had an all-star. They've never had an all-defense guy. They've never had other players that have been able to receive credit, other coaches that have been able to receive credit. And we've always kind of been in this awkward position where we see how awesome Jokic is without necessarily being able to fully because you don't want to bash everybody else, because one of the great things about what the Nuggets do on a consistent basis is because they feature Jokic. They put him into the best positions to succeed. They have changed their defensive schemes constantly in order to put him into the best position possible so he can take advantage of being a great steals guy and defensive rebounds guy, things like that. So they also won their minutes in the playoffs in 2023 when they won the championship when Jokic was off the floor. And so you don't hear that a lot in that run. You hear about Jokic being an all-time great because he was 30, 13, and 10 in that playoff run, 2023. I think that's because so many people want to see Jokic be as great as he can be a top 10 player. You don't want to ever you don't want to ever want to put any blame on him. And that's the constant battle that Nuggets fans, I think, are fighting in this particular case.
Yeah, I just think that the what these guys contributed, and I also thought it was really great tonight to see the bench up and like really excited when they made the run in the third quarter.
Yeah,
they put this game away with an awesome third quarter run. Like, the team was engaged and connected, and I honestly think that's like a big deal. I actually think this game is actually kind of a sneaky big deal. Because I kind of written it off because you have to write off every game in which Jokic doesn't play. That's how good he is. Like, you're just losing that much. You're losing $45 million in salary for a player who's probably worth 90. Like, you should lose. And for them to get that win, and for them to do it together, and for them to do it with Jamal really putting himself on the line physically, and for them to get it with AG playing great, smart basketball and showcasing what kind of player he is now.
Don't forget
they had so many great plays. Like, Russ was a -5 in this game. He had a terrible, terrible, terrible sequence where he turned the ball over. He jumped in the air, could not complete the pass. By the way, anyway, we'll come back to Zeke Naji. it comes down the other end and fouls Steven Adams in transition. He had like Russ had 5 turnovers in this game. I get it. I thought Russ was really instrumental in the run in the third quarter. I thought Russ was really big for them in terms of what he gave them tonight. He had a sequence where he stripped the ball twice on one possession to stop what would have been an easy bucket. And like, this was not a defensive game, but I thought Russ made big time defensive plays to help them get the win.
And, he was on that same play. I think the sequence that you're talking about, he strips it. He and Murray go on a 2-on-1 fast break. Murray throws it behind his back for a dunk. And it was awesome. Like those are the kinds of moments that Russ will give you when he's allowed to be on the open floor, when they can get out and run and do the things that he's really good at. But yeah, like that, they have to balance it. And I think this is, I think, a very important point, because everybody's flawed. Every basketball player has flaws. We've been in this situation with Jokic where he's got a couple flaws that are so loud, but for the most part, he's one of the most well-rounded basketball players that we've ever really seen, especially on the offensive end. So often when we're talking about players and when we're talking about success and we're talking about championships and playoffs and things like that, we're looking at flaws. And Russ has flaws, and a lot of these guys do. And just the way that this thing has kind of put together, I think that Denver's going to, they're going to get uncomfortable at times. And Russ is going to make mistakes. And Jamal is going to make mistakes. He already did last year. I think everybody's seen that before. But as long as they're playing hard, and as long as they're competing, and as long as they are putting pedal to the metal like Russ does on a consistent basis, they're going to give themselves a chance to be successful. And there will come a time, like you've talked about, where Russ helps them win a game in the playoffs. It's just going to happen. It's going to be the Russ game. And people are going to be very excited, and there will be times where he has to play 10 minutes or whatever. And both of those things can be true.
Oh yeah. He also might not get a chance to have the Russ game, because he might lose them 4 games before they get there.
I really hope not, because I don't want to be miserable, man. I want to be happy. I really do. I want to be able to talk about a positive Russ experience in the playoffs. That'll be so cool.
It'll be very strange because you won't notice. You'll just won't see it. It'll be very strange.
We are not. No, we are not doing this. Can we talk about DJ?
Let's talk about DJ. Talk to me about DeAndre Jordan, Ryan Blackburn.
Matt, DeAndre Jordan had not played for 8 straight games. My going theory as to why is because I believe that they are genuinely just trying to save. I don't know how old he is, 36, 37. I think they're trying to save the old guy for the playoff run and give him as much breathing room and opportunity for minutes as possible in those games that matter. And March games don't really matter, as you've mentioned. They need to figure out who Zeke Naji is. They need to figure out who Peyton Watson is for this team. They need to figure out, hey, Spencer Jones, can you play a little bit? You're not going to play in the playoffs, but what if you're a guy? Things like that. I think Michael Malone had enough. He understood that offensive rebounding was going to kill them in this game unless he threw out an actual center. What does DeAndre Jordan go do? 38 minutes, 11 points, 15 rebounds, 4 assists, 1 steal, just 1 turnover. He was a +5 in a game they won by 5. Matt, DeAndre Jordan won his minutes against Alperen Şengün, who was an all-star center. And he battled with Steven Adams, even when both of them were on the floor at the same time, which was kind of cool, by the way. But both of them on the floor at the same time. The Nuggets were about to get cooked on the offensive glass.
Yeah.
And DJ said no.
And what they did to start the fourth quarter, they were running the 2 big when Zeke Naji was just helpless.
He had 0 rebounds tonight, Matt.
Yeah, it was not a good Zeke. The Zeke game is very much up and down. And I think it was, I will say there's some things that are easier, like them not having to play almost any drop and just be we're just going to switch everything. Just the whole game. We're doing nothing but switching versus the Rockets. Works pretty well. There was some advantage there, but yeah, I thought DJ's been phenomenal.
It's all well and good until you're facing Steven Adams and he gets 10 offensive rebounds in 23 minutes.
The one thing I will say is I actually don't know that they're saving DJ. I think this was very much just hey, we're without Yoke. We can't go into a double big lineup without DJ. And so we're going to use this. I think it was a rare case of Malone getting outside of his the night to nights, and that's really good. I think the Jokic being out allows him to go back to what he did his first couple of years coaching, which is like put together different lineups and try different things and be a little bit more flexible with how they approach trying to solve problems versus like with Jokic, it's like, we need to make sure that this is right and this is right and this is right. And that's better because, Jokic, but tonight it was good with how it worked out. Up next,
happy for DJ. Like just genuinely, 38 minutes is crazy in any game, but battling against that team that works that hard, that is really hard to do. So credit to DJ for that.
Up next, I want to talk about something you mentioned, which is the effort. I want to talk about that up next here on Locked On Nuggets. Back here on Locked On Nuggets. Thanks for joining us and making us part of your day. Appreciate you guys being with us. I said earlier that Jokic was Denver's greatest professional athlete. I based that off of asking D-Mac from Altitude. I was like, hey, D-Mac, do you think he's the guy? And he was like, I think so. Like 3 MVPs. I've never seen anybody do this. Swipa understandably doesn't believe in Jokic, so he says John Elway. Typical. But that's fine. That's totally okay. It could be Elway. That's totally fine.
It's not, but that's fine. Like
fine.
It's very clearly Jokic to me at this point, and I've been a Denverite for my entire life.
Yep. The effort thing I think is interesting here. So this is a tricky one. I gotta figure out how I'm gonna like whoop into this one. I think their effort is better when Jokic doesn't play. When they're facing good teams. Obviously, when they face the Blazers, the defense is terrible, or the effort's terrible, right? Like, they don't get up for it. But there's something here for them to solve in terms of they need to play with the effort and intensity level that they play with when Jokic is not out there versus good teams when Jokic is. Right? The profile for the Nuggets this season is that they kill the bad teams and they lose to anybody who's better than them. Anybody. They lose to all those teams. And most of the teams that are as good as them. Like their record versus those teams that you've talked about pretty consistently. And to me, when I've watched, because I've watched so much tape of the Nuggets doing this defensive thing over the last couple of weeks, I've really been like, I don't like using the effort stuff because I understand that it's an 82 game season and these guys are beat the shit and they're trying to get through the season and it's difficult. And I don't like being like, you should try harder. I'm going to go get myself a Twinkie. Like that seems ridiculous to me. But I do think that there's like a level of effort and intensity that is present that they need, that to them, I'm sure they're like, when the time comes for it, we'll do that. And that's the switch, I think, that everyone talks about. I don't know how to harness that, but that to me is just something that like I've anecdotally noticed in the Warriors game and in this game. And again, I want to be very clear on this. They gave up a 121 defensive rating tonight. They did not defend well. They did not. Like
I'm gonna fight against that. I actually thought that they defended really well. They only forced 6 turnovers. And they gave up a variety of free throws in particular because they were undersized. And they gave up 16 offensive rebounds. But in terms of the actual like shot profile of what they were giving up and fighting through and forcing some really tough shots, like I thought that they were working really, really hard tonight. And I think that so I'll just push back on that little small thing because it wasn't like I was noticing a lot of breakdowns.
Right,
so exactly.
It may just be a matter of
it was just sometimes physically overwhelmed.
Well, and I think also this might be a simple case of like players would say this, where it's like, I don't care what the numbers say. Like they made tough shots. Like we play good defense. They just made shots.
Yeah.
And like when you look at, they were 44% from the field. That's not bad.
You can live with that. 100%.
Yeah, they got them with 34 free throws. Like that was really what kind of killed them. And then, they only allowed 34 3-point attempts. That's really good. Like the whole model of this game is really good. Jalen Green's so bad.
Well, it's funny. He was You remember him dancing on the ball arena floor the last time these two teams played? Gonna guess that was brought up, and one of the reasons why the team was pretty motivated. I think I'm gonna go back to your Jokic point. Part of the reason why they don't try as hard or play as hard when Jokic is out there is because he simplifies the game on the offensive end. They are so used to winning with offense when he is on the floor that I think that there is a general feeling that they can get away with some possessions here or there of not being on point all the time. They won't even admit that. Like, they won't say that, but I think it's true. I think that when you take him away, that safety net is not there. They know that he's the best player in the world. They know they have to amp some things up. They know they have to hunker down defensively. They don't always do it, but it's like you said, I think that's actually a pretty good example for when they're favored versus not favored. The only time when they're favored, when Jokic doesn't play, is when they're playing a pretty bad team, and then they lose they probably lose their killer instinct in some of those cases, versus when you're facing a pretty good team, when you're not favored in that situation, and you realize, okay, we got to really hunker down. So I think that's a pretty good reason as to why. I don't think there's anything psychological or attitude-wise with Jokic as to why that's happening. I just think it's kind of basketball letdown theory in a lot of cases.
Makes sense. I think one of the things with this game that I wanted to kind of get to too is I did think that this matchup is not terrible for Denver from a playoff perspective. Now they can come into they can win the last game of the season series and win tiebreaker with Jokic, and I'm going to feel differently, right? Like it can be different. They did well against them last year. Sengun's had some good games against them, but I just think it is kind of like an interesting kind of idea of what this matchup might look like. Did not like the Zeke minutes tonight. Peyton Watson, I want to get your thoughts on Peyton, because I think Peyton had like a really good. How can I put this? Peyton had one of those games where none of the numbers are like going to pop off of the screen. He was minus 14, 9 points, 5 rebounds, 3 assists, 1 steal, 2 blocks. But like, I just liked the way that Peyton played tonight outside of one mid-range jumper he took that I thought was too early in the clock and was not a good look. Other than that, I thought Peyton Watson played really great tonight.
I know the exact one you're talking about. He had Steven Adams on an island and probably should have settled for something better. But I thought he was great. Honestly, like, this was probably his most professional game that he's played since coming back. Denver needed the hustle. They needed somebody to go the extra mile. He had like I don't know if this was the steal that he had, but there was a possession that he just kind of like, he knew that the ball was going to be saved from out of bounds, and he just jumped in front of the player that was going to get it and saved it himself and earned Denver another possession with hustle. And the possessions that he's going to have to learn this, Matt, because I don't think he's going to be like a scoring star. That's not what his game is going to be. I don't think that he's ever going to be involved in an offense enough to consistently average 20 or anything like that. If he wants to be a starter in this league, the thing that he can do most is continue to hustle, earn those extra offensive possessions for his team, like an Alex Caruso or a Lou Dort or somebody of that nature. Amen Thompson, for example, is figuring this out in real time. That's a skill that he can continue to get. But Peyton has been hitting the 3 pretty well over the course of this season. He has confidence in that shot. You know that he wants to continue to take it. The Nuggets need him to continue to take it. And I thought he just connected the ball. Like, I think after it was a block that he had. He pushed the ball up the floor for an assist to Christian Brown in transition for a dunk. That was one play that caused a timeout for Houston. It's those kinds of things where you connect everything. And it's why potential to production is so very important for a lot of people, but especially for you, because you can show all the flash, you could show all the sizzle, but if you do not finish the play, then it does not matter. Like, it's just, at that point, it is just flash and no substance. So if he can continue to finish those plays, and I mean finish at the rim, I mean get to the rim, make your free throws, I mean make the pass correctly in those situations, he is going to be great. It's going to take some extra stuff though, and it's going to be very interesting to see how the rest of his season goes and how the rest of his career goes.
Can I I'm going to do this because I never get to do this.
Okay.
I'm shocked you didn't complain about the officiating more in this game. I was like stunned. I don't know how Nuggets fans weren't losing their minds. The officiating in this game was a joke. It was absolutely absurd. And like there was one that went the Nuggets' way where they reviewed what was very clearly like Zeke Naji just like turning around and like shoving his hand into Amen Thompson. Like no reason to review the play. Like, okay, they have foul underneath the basket. Let's just keep it moving. No. Let's stop the game. And the Nuggets had all this momentum and we're rolling and we're playing with so much fire and intensity. No. Let's stop the game for 10 minutes while these guys are 70 games into a season. And let's have them sit there on the court while we figure out what we're going to do. Oh, and we're just going to go ahead and randomly give this foul on Amen Thompson and Zeke's going to miss a free throw. So it doesn't matter anyway. Just nonsense. But like Şengün flopped all over the floor tonight. Just everywhere. Like it was and there was a lot of plays I thought where AG got fouled underneath the basket and there were no calls.
Yeah.
Like I'm always the one being like, you guys are being a little bit ridiculous with the officiating. This was like, I thought it was atrocious tonight. I thought the Nuggets got a terrible whistle. They played with more physicality and they got a worse whistle tonight than the Rockets, I thought.
I didn't have the same impression. I thought that there was a missed call that Jenna Schroeder had that the Nuggets had to go review. It was the one where Christian Braun was like, clearly the ball was batted off of like Amen Thompson, like smacked it into the stands and it was called off of the Nuggets. And so there are some plays like that. I didn't think it was that bad of a game, to be honest. And like, this is just who Houston is, and they're at home and they're a very physical team. They are a team that drives. They're a team that draws a lot of contact. And Denver hasn't always been super disciplined. So I'm not going to give them the benefit of the doubt all the time in those situations. And yeah, but like, was it perfect? Absolutely not. Do I think that the Rockets deserve more free throws than the Nuggets? Yeah, I do. Honestly, I think that they did, but like, it didn't hurt them. And I thought that the Nuggets just handled that really well. And the fact that they were able to handle that well gives me a lot of confidence that they're a little bit more mentally tough. They're a little bit more physically tough. I think a lot of people have given them credit for over the course of this season, over the course of like this, like their tenure, like the ability to kind of fight through that is nice. It's good.
Sorry, I'm just laughing because it's like they're more mentally tough than some people that might have podcasts on the Locked On Podcast Network might have given them credit for, possibly.
Oh, hey. Who could say who that was at this point? Who could say?
Anthony says, do you have an update about when Joker's coming back? Malone said probably not tomorrow, but sometime during the homestand. I bet he comes back Wednesday. I bet he's back for Milwaukee. They get revenge in that game, and then he's back for the weekend.
They will be getting revenge in that game. That's just how it goes with the Bucks. The Bucks win the first game, the Nuggets win the second game. That's how it works every time.
All right, that's gonna do it for Locked On Nuggets. Thanks for joining us. Have a great day. The Nuggets won. Great win. Enjoy it. Make sure to subscribe to us at youtube.com/LockedOnNuggets. Join. We are closing in at 10,000. It's going to be a big party when we do. Make sure to do that. My thanks to Ryan Blackburn for joining me on today's episode. Check out his work at Mile High Sports. We'll see you guys again tomorrow. Thanks for joining us on Locked On Nuggets.